Alright guys, it is Thursday, only have one more day left until the next week and when CME is closed again, and we still have not filled the CME gap to the downside. So we'll go ahead and talk about if that is actually in fact going to happen, if we are going to get this final dip before heading on up, or if we are just going to leave all of this behind and squeeze up on higher now and save this for later on, as well as talk about the altcoin market because we're continuing to see double-digit gains from many of your assets out there, and I would say it's safe to assume the altcoin season has officially started. If we are going to have one, it's now or never, and I'm in the boat of the bulls. So we'll cover that, but first off, let's talk about the Bitcoin price action because we are making some better highs. We talked about in yesterday's video how all of these wicks up to the same level created a lot of liquidity, and this was almost guaranteed to get grabbed even if we were bearish. We go over to CoinInc. This is our liquidity maps. Now in the weekly time frame, you can see this liquidity that was sitting behind these highs has been mostly grabbed. So that's something to take note of. Could be more confluence that we are actually going to get that final pullback. Ooh, the CME gap, maybe we do the sweep down there and then we head on up from that, or potentially we just do like a partial fill and then head on up, something like that. The CME gaps do get filled around 90% of the time, at least the ones that I have back tested within this current kind of bull market range here on Bitcoin, and back tested all of these, put them in like a Google spreadsheet. It came out to almost 90% accuracy that they do come back and fill those. So still definitely something to keep your eye on there. And then also something to keep your eye on the immediate short term is our volume levels, because we are sitting right within them. We got above these highs that were sitting at a point of control, and now back above this point of control. We want to see if this flips into support. If this can flip into support, then you're probably going to be targeting flipping the very high into support, and once you did that, you're pretty much good to go all the way back up above $62,000. We'll just have to wait for multiple hourly candle closes to see if we are wicking off of this point of control, but definitely this high right here is better than what we had previously, especially with a failed auction over here on Trading Light. You can see when we came up into these single prints, hundreds of Bitcoin being bought up at the highs of this wick, whereas there was no sellers, but price failed to auction at that level, showing that they all got absorbed by whales, creating a good invalidation for shorts. So we'll see how that does play out there. We definitely did not grab all the single prints. A lot of the times when you only partially fill these, does come back up to grab it all. So it's not the best high in the world. We go over to the TPO profile, and I bet you this isn't actually a good high on the TPO session. A TPO session, good or bad high, is represented by multiple single print tails to the upside, and we actually do have that. Okay, so this is a bit of a larger wick than I had assumed. We go over here to the measure tool. Yeah, it's about 0.5% wick to the upside, creating multiple single print tails on this TPO session. So that created a good high on the day. So we'll see how it plays out. We got some good highs up here, could indicate a pullback, but at the same time, trend is your friend to the end of the trend, and we have continuous higher lows within here. So as long as we maintain the higher lows, I have no reason to believe the trend could not continue. We could march on up here. So we'll see if trend does break here. If we can get some multiple hourly candle closes below, then you're probably looking to hunt down a bit lower to grab that CME gap, etc. But let's get out of Bitcoin now, talk about the altcoin market, because we're continuing to see this outperform Bitcoin, at least slightly here. Nothing too crazy, right? Bitcoin dominance isn't like a falling knife right now, but certainly is still making lower highs, lower lows. So it's nice to see money flowing more into risk on assets, and the total 3 chart shaping up very nicely for this double bottom to in fact play out. Let's see if we can flip this volume up at $620 billion market cap into support. So far, still just a waiting game over here on the altcoin market, though. Not too much to talk about when it comes to TA that we haven't already covered, such as this big support resistance flip we had on the chart and holding that as support now, back testing that golden pocket, looking structurally very, very bullish right now. And on a macro time frame, this is a Wyckoff back test of the bear market range, right? You have bear market range, breakout, back test of the range. This is Wyckoff accumulation, and this is your setup for a big bull run, similar to what we had back in 2020, where you have your large bear market range, you have breakout, and then you have back test, and then you go. This back test was much quicker than we had this year. This is much more extended consolidation, but the point still stands that it could send us up into something similar to what we saw in 2020. Obviously, take into account diminishing returns. Don't expect it to be that crazy, but definitely reason to be excited and optimistic about the market right now, just based off of fractals there and the structure we're forming here on the altcoin market. Something a little bit different we're going to talk about is gold, because gold is going absolutely ballistic right now to the upside. So along with the stock market going up, along with Bitcoin going up, we also have gold coming up. So we have an all asset run, which is signaling that there is not trust in the dollar right now, which there are many ways to interpret. Bearish, bullish, historically, could mean there are hard times ahead of us, especially for the United States. We do have a big election coming up, so I think there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and a doubt around that. So a lot of people are just putting their money into safe haven assets and the stock market, trying to get gains out of them, especially when it comes to gold. Something like this has been proven over time, and I do see the need for a big catch-up game when it comes to the evaluation of it, and I do see the case where Bitcoin could follow gold. So while one's a risk-off asset, one's a risk-on asset, if they do continue to correlate like this, that's not a bad sign to see. But we'll see how gold reacts here. Just wanted to point it out because we made all-time highs very convincingly. So I thought that was noteworthy to talk about, and we could talk about how the stock market is rallying with gold, which doesn't normally happen. We see the S&P continuing to print these green candles after getting back above that daily EMA, looking very, very nice. I think this is definitely lined up to send us into all-time highs into price discovery, and once you get into price discovery on the S&P 500, that is when money is probably going to flow more into your risk-on assets, and you're going to see a lot of euphoria resume back into the market, such as we're already starting to see over here in the Russell. We're seeing some big green candles over here as well after getting that swing failure to the downside. We talked about how this buying tail could have marked the low, and I think that did mark the low for us to get back up into this bull market range. And this is where you can have your altcoin seasons happen, just like they did back in 2020 when we were at this range here. And if we can get a breakout of this range, if we can get back to this value area high and go to price discovery on the Russell, I think that's where you get more of your super cycles for the altcoin market, where it could fractal something more similar to 2020, just like this, and even leave the bulls in disbelief. But that's not my base case. I'm being conservative. I think there's a lot of recessionary fears that are valid, but I don't think they're going to happen quite yet. I think we're going to have a quick blow off top here within the next couple of months before it is game over, and I think it will happen faster than people would expect, to throw everyone off guard, because the top will come in when everyone is fumbling back into the market because they weren't expecting it, and then that will be a quick distribution before failing and going into one of the worst recessions the U.S. has ever had. But that's just the hypothesis. If you have any questions about anything I talked about, or just want to join the community for this channel, link to my Discord is in the description down below. Also down below is a VIP Discord that's specifically for teaching you guys how to leverage to trade. It's not a signals group, by the way, and it is a work in progress, so it's 25% off right now. You can click that link. There's a bunch of bullet points to decide for yourself if it's worth your money or not. And then also below those links are all of my exchange partners that all have their own perks and benefits and exclusive rewards and bonuses to those of you that use my referral link to sign up. So don't miss out on that. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.